podcast. Once again, we are so proud to be part of VOC Nation Radio Network. And as you know, we're more than just a wicked awesome podcast. Our website, you laugh every time I do that. Our website, stadiumjourney.com, contains over 2,500 stadium reviews from 31 countries around the world. We also feature news items, features, all kinds of stuff that is perfect for the traveling sports fan. And in addition to the website, we are all over social media. We're a conglomerate, I tell you. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Like us, follow us, share us everywhere. The Stadium Journey podcast, thank you for tuning in, by the way, is the perfect companion while you're on a road trip. If you're looking for our podcast, just type in VOC Nation Radio Network into your podcast search app or look under the podcast tab on the Stadium Journey website. In addition, all of our old video podcasts are on the Stadium Journey YouTube channel. Perfect for binge watching. We also stream live every time we record, every other Tuesday night, on twitch.tv/danlaw83. Welcome to everyone watching there right now. Don't be afraid to participate tonight. Let me take 1 minute to introduce our starting lineup. Dave Cotney is with us as always. You can follow him online at ProFan9. We've got Mark Veeck with us. He can be found at Ballpark Hunter. Our producer, the above-average comedian, Dan Calachico, is online at DanLaw83. And I'm Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. So for tonight's show, it has been a crazy offseason in minor league baseball. And we are going to talk with someone who is right at the center of it all. He works for one of the biggest surprises of the offseason. So welcome back to the podcast, Sean Aronson, the Director of Broadcasting and Media Relations for the new AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins, the St. Paul Saints.
Well, first of all, that's quite the introduction. Second, this is my Twitch debut, by the way. So I'm curious, should I have a game controller? Isn't that
there you go? There you go.
Right?
That makes makes
should
it
I be
official.
doing that?
You
I'm
can
just
fire
curious.
lasers at us if we
That
get out of hand and you don't like the question.
Yeah, right. The other thing is, we've all been doing this for a year. These video chats, right? Can I just comment about still how awful my background is compared to everybody? Seriously, look at everybody's beautiful background, all the sports memorabilia. I'm sitting in my living room because I don't have a dining room table. I've got a desk, but the background is even worse than it. My wall, if you can see, has got one painting on it. As far as the eye can see, it's so embarrassing. So
Sean,
embarrassing.
It's because you live the life, and we're just all pretenders.
Yes. You're a little more busy. You're busier than us.
I need someone to come into my house and just dress it up a little bit so that I'm not so embarrassed every time I'm on with people. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, when you get married and your wife starts decorating things and she says, "Okay, have your man cave here."
All your stuff goes to one place. Yes.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But but it's great to be back. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm excited. I mean, there is a lot going on, and looking forward to talking about it all here tonight with you guys.
Now, I do have a question. I think the last time we spoke with you that there was rumblings, or right before. I guess my question is, how long ago did you know that the Saints were going to go into the AAA with the Twins?
I've been saying for 14 years now. That's how long I've worked for the Saints. I've been in minor league baseball for 20 years. Every time in the last 14 years, someone has asked me, well, when are the Saints and the Twins going to, join up and be an affiliation? And my answer has always been, I will be long gone by the time that ever happens. So I'm just waiting for someone to fire me now that we are an affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. But to be honest with you, I probably felt confident this was going to happen when the Twins came to CHS Field and used it as their alternate site in whatever it was, June, July, whenever they came over to use our alternate site. That's when I thought, wow, this could really happen.
Okay.
The deal was officially announced in December. And I think I officially knew about it maybe a month before that.
Okay, so that was not long ago.
Yeah, there were a lot of I's that needed to be dotted, T's needed to be crossed. And to be very honest with you, Major League Baseball needed to sign off on this. This wasn't as simple as the Twins and the Saints joining forces and saying, hey, this is the way it's going to be. Major League Baseball needed to sign off on the restructuring of minor league baseball, and which they wound up doing. And, you know, the dollar amount hasn't been announced, and nor am I at liberty to say what it is, but there was financial, you know, compensation, if you will, for the Saints to be a minor league affiliate. And so that all had to be worked out. So like I said, I felt confident in about July, but knew about it basically in November. I tell you it was pretty safe.
So I had a feeling you might have knew about this way before, but you couldn't say anything.
No, you know, you know what's funny, that the first inkling of this was September of 2019, I think, or October of 2019.
Yeah, around that time.
And JJ Cooper, let me tell you guys, I don't know if you've ever had him on or if you've talked to him or whatever, is like the TMZ of the baseball world. Like, this guy knows, and he's an amazing reporter. And so I'm not knocking him by saying that. I'm just saying this guy knows everything. JJ Cooper did a phenomenal job. He writes for Baseball America.
Yep,
and if you've never read him before, you have to, because he's at the cutting edge of everything. But that was the first time that we were ever mentioned. This happened in, like I said, October of 2019. And we didn't know about this. Like, it came as I'm not just saying that to play coy. We had no idea. And all of a sudden we show up in an article saying Major League Baseball is looking to revamp all of minor league baseball. And there are two independent teams that are in the running to be affiliates. And, you know, one of them was, you know, the Sugarland down in Texas, and the other was us. So there you go. That was the first I heard of it.
Good job for JJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to clarify one minor point that you had there, well, maybe minor to us, maybe not minor to you guys. So you said that there was compensation, and not asking how much, but are we talking about the Twins paying the Saints?
No.
Or the Saints paying the Twins, or
no.
Well, the association.
You had to pay Major League Baseball to basically get into into this, and so
the Saints had to pay Major League Baseball.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so and so as part of that, the Twins now, and again, this is widely reported, and again, not at liberty to discuss the dollar amount, but the Twins are now a minority stakeholder in the St. Paul Saints as part of this whole, you know, structure of paying into Major League Baseball. So and which is a smart business move on the Twins side, right? Because, and this is why I always told people that I'd be long gone before this affiliation ever happened. It was never as simple as the Saints and Twins joining force. The Twins own the territorial rights, whatever, I think it's 50-mile radius or 75-mile radius for any major league or affiliated minor league team coming in. The Saints were able to be there because they were independent for so long. So it wasn't as simple as the Saints or the Saints and the Twins joining forces, because you got to think the Saints are going to pull some of the fan base. The Saints and Twins will go for the same money when it comes to sponsorship. So if you're the Twins, why wouldn't you have a minority stake now in your AAA affiliate, so that with this competition, and albeit, you know, not major competition, but minor competition for some of the same dollars, you're going to reap some of the benefits. I think it's a very smart business move by the Minnesota Twins to be a part of it. Now, with that said, our ownership group of Marv Goldklang, Mike Veeck, and Bill Murray are still the majority stakeholders in the St. Paul Saints. And we can get into the fact that we're not going to change and all that other stuff, but that in a nutshell is the way it looks. So
we're going to see the same type of atmosphere, wacky characters, innovative promotions, hopefully this year, if everything works out well.
Yeah, I cannot say this enough. I cannot scream it from the highest of mountaintops. I know Minnesota does not have mountaintops, but I cannot scream from the highest mountaintops enough that we're not going to change. There's nothing that's going to be different about us on the entertainment side of things. Matter of fact, I think there's some of us, including our lovable owner Mike Veeck, that wants to push the envelope so far that we get reprimanded for how far we've pushed the envelope because everybody expects us to change and to hold back. We were a part of Twins Fest this past weekend, and we had a segment, and it was myself, our general manager, executive vice president, Derek Scher, and Mike Veeck. And I spent our 25-minute allotted time talking about failed promotions that Mike and Derek had been a part of in affiliated baseball, letting people know that this stuff goes on all over the place. And these were some outrageous promotions that just flopped for one reason or another. It just things like vasectomy night, things like what was it, like voodoo night on Good Friday, or just things like this that just flopped, but were funny, and you took chances. So we're going to continue to do this stuff, and we're going to continue to poke fun at ourselves, at the establishment, and I don't think there's going to be anything that we're going to pull. I straight out asked Mike. I said, "Will you hold back when it comes to poking fun at Major League Baseball now that we're a AAA affiliate?" And he said, "No, not at all." He said, "We've done it before. We'll do it again." So there you go.
Yeah, well, if it's any club that's going to do it, it's going to be somebody named Veeck.
Yeah, that's right.
We'd expect no less from Mike Veeck.
That's right.
No.
Exactly.
So since the news broke, Sean, what has your winter looked like? Maybe as opposed to past winters.
Well, you guys know, in order to get this interview done, you had to go through my agency. So I have an agent now, and
that took
big
forever.
deal. I get appearance fees for all this stuff, so I appreciate you guys fronting the money on that.
Yeah, you're getting a big cut of our proceeds from this.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. You're getting a check in.
That's right.
In the mail.
No,
a bill, an invoice, not a check.
That's right. To be honest, the announcement came late, right? It was first week of December, I think it was. So if you think about it, when a baseball season's ends in September, you have October, November, December before you turn the calendar and you can ease into it. Well, the announcement came in December. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't do corporate sales. We couldn't do season tickets, because we thought, hey, this is, in the future here, you can't start selling stuff for something that doesn't quite exist yet. So for me, it's been full speed ahead since this announcement. I spent a good 2 weeks, handling all the media requests, which I've been joking, all of a sudden we've become a viable baseball team with uniforms and everything. We were 28 years. We were the St. Paul Saints, and I didn't have to deal with all the media requests that I've had to deal with the last, couple of months. No one's wanted to interview our manager so much. And that we can talk about that because if there's one negative side of this deal, it's that, and we can get into that. But for me, it's been researching players. So which obviously, you don't know what your team's going to look like until basically spring training breaks, but you can have a good idea of, the Twins have signed 9 players to a minor league deal with an invite to Major League spring training. So you got to figure, some of those guys, if not most of those guys, will be with you in AAA. They're not all going to make the 25-man roster or whatever they're deciding to make the roster this year. They're not all going to make that. So you prepare for those guys. You know who the hot prospects are that everybody's talking about that could be at AAA. So you do research on those guys. You look at both Rochester's roster and Pensacola's roster from 2019, the last time there was a season, and you start to play with guys that could wind up. So you're doing research on that. We've done some Facebook Live shows with our new manager, Toby Gardenhire. I did one a week ago with our hitting coach and infield coach, and I'm doing one this Thursday, the 4th of February, with our 2 pitching coaches, which is a huge change. I've never been with an organization that had 2 pitching coaches, so there's something that that's going to be new. But so on the baseball side, it's been that. And then look, when you're in minor league baseball, I don't care that we're part of AAA now. There's a lot of other things you're asked to do. So I do sales. I'm writing the program. Again, that's a big undertaking that I always do every year. But now I have to start that from scratch, right? I used to be able to churn things over year after year, but you got to start that from scratch. So there's a lot that's going on, and it's going to happen fast. And if the season starts on time, which right now it looks like it, we'll start somewhere in the first week of April, the beginning of the second week. And so that's what, 2 months, 9 weeks away. That goes by fast in the baseball world.
Yeah, like you said, there are some changes that come with being an affiliate with the Twins. What about fan reaction? People call in for tickets. I mean, how much more media are you getting? How much more ticket requests are you getting? The last season you guys played, you had close to 400,000 in attendance. What are you projecting for this season?
Well, I'm not projecting anything for this season just because who knows,
Yes.
what it's going to be.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes.
But in a normal season, I would think that we would surpass our best average attendance that we had in the first 5 legitimate years at CHS Field.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll surpass the overall attendance because we're going to play 22 more home games. But I think our best year was 8,200. I think on average. I think we can easily get to 8,600, and the ballpark seats 7,210. When the announcement was made, the first couple of weeks, we had over 500 new season ticket inquiries. And that's just individuals. That's not to say that wasn't a group of 2 or a group of 4. That was just 500 submissions interested in season ticket information. Now, again, what that's going to look like this year is a different subject, but the interest is there. Not only that, you're going to see the single game walk-up go through the roof, right? Especially once our roster is announced, and if you get some of the guys that people are anticipating, the Royce Lewises of the world, playing for the St. Paul Saints this year. Royce Lewis was a number 1 draft pick 4 years ago now. Twins fans are now going to start coming out to Saints games. Before it was, a casual baseball fan, maybe some Twins fans, but most it was, family and entertainment and stuff like that. Now you're going to get a cross section of those fans with the diehard Twins fans that are like, I can go spend, $18 for a ticket to go watch, 4 high profile prospects before I, go and watch them at Target Field. And I can go watch them in a more intimate setting. And I can say I saw them before they got to the Minnesota Twins. That's going to be the dynamic that's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, the excitement is real. It is there. You ask about the media side of things. I've never had so many leaks, if you will, in terms of what could happen with the St. Paul Saints than I had in my first 14 years. Nobody cared about news coming out of St. Paul, right? Nobody. Now everybody's trying to find out what league we're going to be in, who our manager was going to be when this deal, before it got done. There's so many leaks going out. It was like, I've never had to deal with this before. Now somebody's leaking stuff because people care. So that's been interesting. I've already been told by both newspapers in town that we'll have a beat writer. I'm not even sure, for the last 14 years I could spell beat writer. I mean, we just didn't see them, right? Yeah. And so in the early years of the Saints, 93, 94, 95, when they first came about, they did have beat writers, but then the novelty kind of wore off and it went away. But now I've had all the TV stations say, well, now we'll send people out to cover you. And look, I love these guys. I've been here 14 years. I know all of them, and I've already given most of them a hard time, but it's like, why didn't you care before? Like, those guys had great stories. Those independent ball players had great stories. I know you didn't recognize their names, but you should have cared because they all came from where you're about to cover. You're about to cover a AAA team. You know how many guys we had before that were on AAA teams, that were on AA teams, that were these high-end prospects that you're now going to cover that they used to be? So that's the thing that, that kind of, when I look back, bothers me. But, now moving forward, they're going to cover these same guys.
Yeah, it's amazing how all of a sudden the connection with the Twins, because you guys have been packing them in. You guys have been making waves throughout minor league baseball with your attendance. I've always told people that, well, I can tell people now that CHS Field is my all-time favorite minor league ballpark. I used to have to explain how it was different. So now I get to say that. But yeah, I'm sort of surprised that the local Twin City media didn't take you guys a little more serious. It's not like you were, a fly-by-night operation. You've been here since 1993. You built your own ballpark. The crowds are amazing.
Yeah, and it was just that again, nobody recognized the players, and winning and losing wasn't the biggest thing. It was the complaint that I had when I was in Fort Myers. Again, I spent 4 years with the Fort Myers Miracle, 2003 to 2006, and the Fort Myers media would obviously be there for spring training, right? It was the home of Twin spring training. They would be out, they would be covering these guys. And then when our season started, they went away. And I thought to myself, in 2, 3, 4 years, these guys that are at a high A are going to be at Major League spring training. Why wouldn't you be out here now covering these guys? And then when they get to Major League spring training, they're going to recognize you and you're going to get the interviews that you want. Instead, you're never here. And then you're fighting with all these other, Minnesota media folks when they come into town, and you're already behind the 8 ball. It never made any sense to me. But again, I've never worked in at a news station before. I don't understand the ins and outs of it, but this is the way it goes.
Well, yeah, because I know when I used to do some stringing work for a newspaper out in Scranton, PA, and I would go to the games at Victory Field here in Indianapolis, and the media director would say, "We don't have a beat writer." And they're AAA.
Yeah.
But the Wilkes-Barre paper and Scranton newspaper would send 2 stringers out there to cover.
Yeah.
So he was just a little bit upset too because, why aren't you covering us? But I think with newspapers, it has to do with probably lack of subscriptions, online media content. But it feels like this has always been the case.
Yeah, it has. And one more thing, Dave, before you ask your question, when I was in Fort Myers, what else is going on in Fort Myers, Florida in the summer? There's nothing. It's ungodly hot. What else are you going to do? I mean, you're going to cover what? There's nothing. There's literally nothing going on. Just send an intern. I don't care to cover us. So whatever. Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Rant.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is going to be a little bit different for you is that you're now going to be part of a bigger group of teams. So, So how tight are you with the guys in Wichita, and how much do you see yourself having to work with, maybe the media guys at AA or single A, or, trading info and, hey, this guy's coming up and this guy's going down and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a little bit. I'm trying to use my years in this business to kind of rely on. I spent 4 years in Fort Myers, and look, the world of minor league baseball has changed 100-fold since I was there. But I remember when I was in Fort Myers, there would be a little bit of back and forth between the AA guy and the AAA guy and myself, and just information. But honestly, there wasn't a ton. But look, the broadcasting realm is very tight knit. And so, to be honest, I don't know if Wichita even has someone yet. Again, they were supposed to be a AAA team last year. They didn't play. Now they're a AA team. I don't know who's in place. And again, this is the weird thing, right, about this industry. It is, after last year, a whole bunch of people were furloughed. And so a lot of guys, a lot of people don't have their jobs back yet. The one thing that I can tell you is there was a AAA broadcaster that sent an email around to basically a bunch of us, just to kind of get the ball rolling and introduce and whatever. But not everybody on that email was back working with their team. And so that's the weird thing right now that we're in. We're just in this odd place. I'm hoping that once the PDLs, the player development licenses, are signed off on, which I believe they have to be by next week. You had 30 days from the time you got them to sign off on them. I think the 30 days up is sometime next week. That now that a schedule will come out and these teams will start hiring people back. That it is the one thing. Actually, there are many things I could say great about the St. Paul Saints, but the one thing specific about the Saints is that I will brag about, that I will pat us on the back, is that we didn't furlough anyone. We didn't get rid of anybody. And that's a lot of it has to do with the hard work that we put in the first 5 years of CHS Field, how hard we worked, the sponsorship side of things, the season tickets, the attendance that we drew. We did well and were able to offset, not all, look, again, we all had terrible years last year, but they didn't furlough or get rid of anyone. And to the ownership group, to Derek, our general manager, kudos to them. I mean, because it would have been very easy to do so, and they didn't. And so I'm one of the lucky ones. I really am. And not only that, we played last year as an independent ball club. I was one of a handful of broadcasters in the country that actually got to broadcast last year. And I said this on opening night. I said, I will not take for granted the fact that I am getting a chance to broadcast. And each broadcast I do this year is for all those broadcasters that aren't getting to do this year. And I meant that. It was true. I realized how lucky I was to do what I did last year and to work for an organization that I do. So it does not go unrecognized. So that's a long-winded answer to say, yes, eventually I would like to talk to those broadcasters, but again, I'm not sure who's in place right now.
Dave, I thought you had a question, so I was waiting for you. But Sean, we've been focusing a lot on all the positives that are coming about with your affiliation. Are there any worries that now, you used to have your own niche in St. Paul, and now that you're affiliated with the Twins, are you worried that you might perhaps be overshadowed by them now?
By the Twins, being overshadowed by the Twins? Yeah. I think and again, look, this is a true partnership. This is a true affiliation. But if I'm the Twins, I'm more worried about us than I am about the Twins, right? And for the simple fact of what we talked about, it's an odd competition now, but we are the more affordable place to go. Right. Again, let's talk in a perfect world where you can open the ballpark to everybody. But we are the more affordable place to go. You have a chance to see some of these guys before they get to the major leagues. You have a chance to be in that more intimate setting. For us, it's brand new news for us that is exciting for us. For the Twins, it's cool, but it's not going to add a bump to them. It's added a huge bump for us. And we're gonna push they're gonna have to, right? They're gonna have to keep one eye on us, wondering what are they gonna do, right? Like this crazy thing happened in the current events world. Are the Saints gonna take a shot at this now? Do we have to? So I think there's that. But our general manager put this beautifully, and I couldn't have put it any better. He said everybody wants to talk about the fact that the Saints have moved closer to the establishment. Why does it have to be that way? Why can't it be that the Twins are moving closer to the anti-establishment? And I couldn't agree more. And so much so that I had Dave St. Peter, Twins president, on Saints Live, our Facebook Live show, a day or two after the announcement was made. And I said, let me ask you this. Would you ever have the Saints promotions team go to Target Field for a game and run the operation? And he said, you know what, that's not a bad idea. He said, I see no downside to that. Because the Twins have, and again, I've been to a handful of Twins games in my time here. You got to remember, I work during the baseball season. It's not like I can just go over to Target Field and watch a game whenever I want. But they don't have a whole lot of between innings promotions and things like that, like especially on-field stuff. So if you can bring that element over there and let's say add a Twins sponsor to that, just say, hey, we're going to give you extra added value, right? Partner X. And we did our promotions over there and brought that there. I'm telling you, the Twins are closer to moving in our direction than we are to moving to the Twins direction. So no, I don't worry.
Okay. The point of my question, I guess, was that say on a random Wednesday night where the Twins are home and the Saints are home.
Yeah.
Would you worry that you may end up with a crowd of 500 because everybody's watching or
no? So there was a day in 2019 where we played, the Twins played, and the United played, the soccer team out here. All of us sold out. We all sold out.
Beautiful.
There's enough to go around. That's what people don't understand about the Twin Cities. I've ranted about this since I moved here. Everybody in the Twin Cities on a sports level wants to think of the Twin Cities as a mid-market city. It's only mid-market, I think, and again, I'm not trying to crush any owners. I don't have money to buy a team, but it's only mid-market because it's based upon what they're spending. But they're the 16th largest media market in the country. There's enough people in the Twin Cities to go around, right? And it's not like we need to draw 25,000 people. We seat 7,210, but we were at 7,210. I think the United are 18,000. and then target fields, whatever, 35,000, 40,000. And we all sold out. So no, not at all. I'm not worried. We've competed with the Twins on plenty of times since we moved into CHS Field. And we average 112% capacity over 5 years. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You guys have been competing with them for quite some time. I know when the Saints first started, it was outdoor baseball was the attraction, along with the other promotions. But also, I think Minnesota is so darn cold during the winter that once summer comes, everybody wants to be outside doing something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those situations where we've got our niche. We're not changing from our niche, and people know what to expect.
Yeah, because even the WNBA Lynx, I think, draw.
They do phenomenal. Yeah,
they draw tops.
This is a very good sports town. Look, it's never going to be compared to, like, if you're looking at the Midwest, to like St. Louis, which I've never been to, but I hear is an unbelievable sports town. It's never going to be compared to that, right? But you got to give Minnesota sports fans a lot of credit. Look how much heartache they've gone through. Like, the last championship of the four major sports, right, of the four majors was 91. 91. It was the Twins. Like, the Vikings have never won anything, right? The Timberwolves certainly have never won anything. The Wild have been to the conference finals, I think, once. Maybe they played in the Stanley Cup finals, but
they've never been.
So it's the Twins back in 91. That's it. Like, I mean, of the four majors, that's it.
What are you talking about? The Timberwolves have made a career of winning the draft. They're the lottery champs.
Yeah.
Lottery champs.
How well is that done when you draft 4 point guards in the first round, right? Like, you know. So,
one thing that I see being different for you guys, and I see it kind of happening over the AAA level at minor league baseball, is a lot more player movement. What kind of challenges do you think that's going to give you? Like, the parent company is down the road. It's going to be, did they use the term taxi squad in baseball? I know they're using it in, like, hockey and basketball, but essentially that's what a lot of these teams are going to have, is a taxi squad. Like Toronto has a taxi squad because they're so close. Cleveland and Columbus are close. Cincinnati, Louisville are close. And the pitching, to me, seems to be so bad in the majors. It's just like, well, let's just grab a guy from AAA. He can't be any worse than the 3 guys that we got in the bullpen. And what kind of challenges do you see that extended player movement bringing you?
It's going to cause me a headache, I'll tell you that much. I mean, there's just – people don't understand, from my point of view, how much goes into every time a move is made. And it will be a challenge. When we were an independent club, and our manager, who again, if there's one negative to this deal, it is the fact that George Samus, who manages the Saints for 18 years, is one of my all-time most favorite people in the world. Is out of a job, not because he wasn't good enough or anything like that. The Twins have their guys, right? They are responsible for the players and the coaching staff. If there are 99 positives to this deal, the one negative is the fact that George Samus and our coaching staff of Kerry Lightenberg and Ole Sheldon will not be back. And that's to say nothing of our current manager and coaching staff. They seem like great guys, but I've been with George for 14 years. I've been with Ole for 8 or 9, and with Lighty for 7 or 8. So it's sad. Like, I mean, you build a rapport with those guys, but people don't understand how much work goes into every time a player movement happens. That was the great thing about being independent ball club. George would let me know a day or two before something happened. I could prepare for it. The moves from AAA to the majors will be 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we got to get a guy over here. And so we're grabbing, player X from AAA for him to drive, the 25 minutes across town. And now the lineup changes, and now, whatever. I mean, it's just, or vice versa, the guy gets demoted and has to get in the lineup because he needs his 4 at-bats type of thing. And now I'm scrambling to let the media know and do my research on this. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. And again, I'm not complaining. I love my job, but there will be more now than I've ever had to deal with in the 14 years of independent baseball.
couldn't you see it where the fans are heading to the Twins game and then sitting right beside them on public transit is the starting pitcher who's coming over from St. Paul?
We've joked about the Green Line connects.
Yeah, the Green Line.
Yeah, the Green Line so Metro Transit Green Line connects CHS Field 2 blocks away is their beginning or end, depending on how you look at it. And on the other side, the end is Target Field. It literally connects the 2 ballparks. It does take. What's that?
How far apart are the 2 parks?
10.6 miles. It is
might be the closest.
It is the closest affiliation. And there's some debate on if it's the closest affiliation ever. I think someone told me, and I believe it was a Sabre person, so you have to ask the experts on this, but it was like the Yankees had like a de facto affiliate for like either a half a year or a year. I think it was the Yankees. I could be wrong on that. But it was like a de facto affiliation for some reason, like many, 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 many years ago that was a little bit closer than this. But as far as like an extended affiliation, this is, from what I can tell, the closest ever. And I'll continue to use that until someone tells me I'm wrong. But yes, it is 10.6 miles. It is officially currently the closest affiliation. I think green line to one end to the other, I think it's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So it's actually quicker to drive. But it is a cool story if we ever need to do that. So.
No, you got to set up some day-night double headers there, huh?
Well, and that is, yeah. So those will happen, right? There's going to be 1 o'clock on one end, 7 o'clock on the other, and you get on the green line. And we've already been doing that with the Twins. Again, people don't understand. We've had a pretty good working relationship with the Twins for quite a while. I mean, we really have. It wasn't always this way, but I came from Fort Myers, right? Which again, Twins affiliate for many, many years. Our GM came from Fort Myers. We owned the Fort Myers Miracle for a number of years up until about 3 or 4 years ago. So again, a lot of dealings with the Twins when you're their high affiliate and their spring training home. So this relationship had been growing for many years now. Dave St. Peter's been there. It feels like 100 years. I mean, he was with the Twins when I was in Fort Myers, 15 years ago now. So you've been there forever. Obviously, the Falvey and Levine, those guys are relatively new, but the Pole lads have owned the team for a while. There are a number of guys in the front office that, that either worked for the Saints and now do the Twins or just have been around for a while. So this is a solid relationship. So the 1 and 7 o'clock, sort of crossover, we've done that the last, 2-3 years. So.
Dave, you had something? I'm sorry I talked over you there.
No, that's all right. I was going to say, I think the Blue Jays had a closer affiliation last year where, like, they just played in their AAA park. So
sure,
you can't get any closer than that.
Yeah, different last year, right? Because I mean, it wasn't really their affiliate, right? It was just what they called them is the alternate site type of thing. But yes, you are right.
And actually, the alternate site for the Blue Jays wasn't even in Buffalo. It was in Rochester. So all of the, taxi squad or whatever, like they were all playing their practice games in Rochester up the road.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let's hope we never have
it's
to
a crazy year.
Last year. Yeah, last year was. And look, there are a lot of questions for this year. I mean, as we're all speaking today, the Major League Baseball Players Union turned down Major League Baseball's second proposal, I guess, for the 2021 season, which means that they play under the current, bylaws, which is to say 162 games, spring training starts on time. The only thing that needs to be ironed out, I guess, is the player protocol for COVID and all that, which again, if Major League Baseball starts on time, AAA is scheduled to start on time, but there is still, rumblings out there that they might hold off for a few weeks and then AAA would start sometime in May, which, to be honest, would not be the end of the world. This will be the way it is going forward. Games in April in Minnesota, not the most ideal, but if for the first year we held off to May for the first year, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I think everybody wants to get started. We just want to play. We want to be able to have whatever fans in the ballpark.
So are you hoping for road trips to Tacoma or to Durham?
I'm hoping for a road trip to Vegas, to be honest with you, but I don't know.
Indianapolis, come down here.
I to be honest, I don't really know. I mean, I know what you're getting at here. I honestly do not know which route we're
He
going.
found us.
Yeah, I honestly don't know which route we're going, and I wish I did. My guess is whatever happens this year, though, you're going to play a lot more regional games than you will going further out to the coast. So even if we're a part of, let's say, the Pacific Coast League, you're going to play teams in the Pacific Coast League that are closer to you. If you're part of the International League, you're going to play teams just closer, and you may not travel out as far because of everything that's going on, which I think is smart. I think that's the way to do it. I'm trying to convince our general manager to charter us everywhere, get a charter flight, go big league. I highly doubt that's going to happen because that's pretty expensive. But
you don't need a charter to go 40 games in Des Moines and 40 games in Omaha.
But by league rules, you do. See, that's the thing, right? By the new bylaws, anything over 350 miles, you have to fly. And I think from us to Iowa is like 365. It's like right on the outskirts.
Oh, wow. Well,
But I've
yeah,
heard
you're
a
right
lot
on the
of-
money, Sean, because when I started, I worked a dozen years for the Pawtucket Red Sox.
Yeah.
When I started, every trip was a bus trip.
Yep.
When I was done, I think we only had maybe 2 or 3 bus trips.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I'm hearing, again, like I hear the same rumors you guys do. I read the same things you guys do, but I'm rooting for this. What I've heard is 6 on, 1 off. That one day a week will always be an off day. So let's say every Monday for the sake of this.
Yeah,
Every
that makes
Monday is an
sense.
off day. And then you play 6 straight games against the same team in the same city. So a road trip, instead of like going – a 3-game trip, hop on a plane, go to another city for another 3-game trip, hop on a plane, come back home, whatever. It's 6 games in one city, and it lessens the travel. And if I knew right now that we'd play 6 on, 1 off, and stay in one city for 6 days, I'm signing up not only for that now, but every season from here on out. You don't understand how much easier that makes things for everybody. I'm rooting for that.
Sure,
Well,
that
that-
sounds great. And you've got some great destinations in either league. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, that's. I guess that's how it was in Hawaii, when Hawaii had a AAA team.
Yeah.
The team would go out there for 6 days.
Yep.
Who wouldn't want to spend 6 days in Hawaii a few times a year? But hey, we have a question from one of our listeners. Can I ask
First
that
time-
or
you got to mark.
First
Go
time,
ahead. Go for
first time, long time?
first time? Oh no,
it.
it's first time.
You know what? This is a long time listener.
Okay.
Long
our
time
friend Lloyd
listener
Rothwell.
from Sydney, Australia.
Ah.
So definitely probably a listener from the furthest direct.
I'm not gonna do what everybody else would do when they hear that and try to do an Australian accent. That's
No.
not fair to them. So go ahead.
Well,
You've had Lloyd on the podcast. Yeah, you couldn't. do it
Yeah,
justice.
as I read this, I got to stop too to
Yeah.
do my to do my accent. Well, he writes, "Good day, fellas." His question is, what would happen if the Saints had not partnered with the Twins or a Major League Baseball club? Was it a realistic option to maintain the status quo and remain in indie ball?
Great question. Who asked that? What was the person?
Lloyd Rothwell of Sydney,
Lloyd.
Australia.
Lloyd, that's a fantastic question. The answer to that is 1,000% we would have stayed independent. We didn't need to do this, right? And that's been the big question. Why'd you guys do this? Like, what are you doing? We didn't need to do this. And we could have stayed independent. It's not like by us partnering with the Twins, by us being the AAA affiliate, that all of a sudden we're going to go from 2,000 fans to 8,000 fans, right? That's not like we already draw 112% capacity. So we would have stayed independent. We would have been extremely successful, just like we have been. And both of us would have gone about our businesses, and the Twins would have had to find another AAA affiliate home. Probably Wichita. Maybe at that point, Wichita would have stayed a AAA team. Like, I feel bad for Wichita, right? They were a AAA affiliate last year, never played one game, and now we're a AA affiliate. Now, again,
Built a brand new ballpark. Yeah.
correct. In the grand scheme of things, look, it shouldn't matter. If you have a good business model, you have a good business model. It shouldn't matter what level of play you're at. Now, AA may play like 4 or 6 less games. So again, when all is said and done, you're playing 2 or 3 less home games, but nothing would have happened. We would have stayed independent, and that would have been that. And we would have both gone about our business, and that's the way it would have worked.
So what's your opinion then on these teams who have lost their affiliation and are now kind of, well, I mean, we've seen a number of different options. Some are just rolling right into an indie ball or a
Yep.
collegiate league. Some are suing. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I can't speak much on the suing side of things. I'm not in those markets, so I don't know what they're suing over or why, or how that's going to turn out. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I don't live in those areas. I'm not a part of those, places. The teams I feel bad for, like, and I know there's more than just this, but like Staten Island is now no longer, right? I know there are a couple of others like that. Like, those are the ones you legitimately feel bad for. You were a team. Now you have no team in that area. So, like, I legitimately feel bad for those people. If you are an affiliated ball club and now you are a collegiate wood bat league team or an independent league team, and if you're saying this is going to ruin us, okay, what you're saying is our business model sucks, right? Now, I will agree, if you were playing 70 home games and now you're playing 35, I agree with you. Yes, right? You're now playing 50% of your games where you generate a lot of income, so a lot of revenue. So yeah, for sure, if that's the case. But if you're either playing similar amount of home games or more home games and you're complaining about this, or you're saying we're not going to survive, or whatever the case may be, you're telling me your business model is terrible. It should not matter when it comes down to it what players are wearing your uniform. Minor league baseball, for the most part, is not based upon who's wearing the uniform. It is based upon your business model, how you can entertain fans and drive fans out there. Sure, if you're a Yankees affiliate and you're in the Northeast, a la a team that we own in Hudson Valley that went from the Rays to the Yankees, yes. Are you going to see an uptick? For sure. If you're the Saints and you're now the AAA affiliate of the Twins, are you going to see an uptick? Sure. But it's not going to be so substantial that you are basically saying our business model doesn't mean anything. What matters is the guys that are wearing the uniform and the number one draft pick. Because here's what it comes down to. And I speak to college classes and high school classes all the time. The difference between the Saints and the Twins, or the Saints and the Timberwolves, or the Saints and the Vikings, or whoever it is, you care whether those teams win or lose. You have an emotional investment in it, right? Paul, you're wearing a Patriots jersey, right? You care whether the Patriots win or lose, right? You're a diehard, right? but you care. You've emotionally invested yourself into that team. I am a diehard Dodger fan, right? I rode the emotional roller coaster since '88 to hope that they invested, right? Most fans are not emotionally invested in their minor league team or in their independent league team. They don't care whether they win or lose. They're not checking the scores every day. They may look at certain players, but their weekend is not ruined if they've gone to a game that team lost, right? It is if in this area, the Vikings lose 3 in a row, right? People are miserable. People want Kirk Cousins to, have his head, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's the difference. People, there isn't the diehard care whether they win or lose if you're a minor league team.
The old Seinfeld routine, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
I think there are some spots where I'm gonna have to disagree.
Fire away.
There have been some minor league markets that have basically told their major league affiliates to go away because they have provided them with poor players for a heck of a long time.
Okay.
And it seems to me that those would be examples of markets where, yeah, their fan base is invested whether they win or lose.
It's such a small, minute amount that again, if you're looking to increase your attendance by a couple hundred, then yes, sure. But if you're looking to increase your attendance by a couple of hundred, you're going from, let's say, 1,400 to 1,600 or 1,800 to 2,000, your business model is not a good one. That's what I'm saying. There are so many other things more important than the person that's wearing your uniform. I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, let's just use this, right? Let's say we cared about the player wearing the uniform, and Royce Lewis, again, who people can't stop talking about in this area, hoping to play for the St. Paul Saints. How long is Royce Lewis going to play for the St. Paul Saints before he gets called up to the major leagues? right? So if you're banking on said players to be there, whatever, Aaron Judge, right? Before, he became Aaron Judge and was probably hitting 500-foot moonshots in minor league baseball. And it was cool to see him, right? How long is he there before he goes up? You know how many Tim Tebows there are in the world that are actually going to make a difference? One, Tim Tebow. That's it, right? You may see an uptick like, let's say, and again, I hate talking like this because I never want to talk about anyone getting hurt, but let's say Miguel Sano gets hurt and he does a 3-game rehab in St. Paul. Now, will a bunch of people come out to see that game or those games? For sure. But it's not a season-long thing, right? You're able to capture it for 2 or 3 days, and that's great. Again, don't get me wrong. It's great for the bottom line, but it is not sustainable for 72 home games. You have to have a good business model because players are going to come and go. Guys are going to get called up, and they're not going to be there for that long. You can't rely on it year after year after year. There are going to be some years where, you get the stud. And I would argue that this year in St. Paul, the Twins want to stack the Saints. Why? Because they want to prove that this is a great partnership. And look at this. Look at how great this is. So I'd argue that we may see a stacked team, at least to start. I don't think it'll be – because they don't care, right? If a guy's performing, why are you going to leave him in St. Paul? They don't care whether the Saints win or lose. But I think we'll see a stacked team. But you cannot rely on that. Your business model has to be sound, fundamental, and it has to be entertainment-driven in the minor league baseball world.
Well, I think that's what Bill Veeck said when he was with the Chicago Cubs in the 1930s. I can't control the players. I can control what goes on at Wrigley Field. So he wound up playing in Ivy.
Yep.
So that all came from that attitude.
But Mark, you bring up a good point, and I use this all the time. And here's why I'll go back, Dave, and say this. If you are going to invest whatever it costs, $50, $60, $70 to go to a Major League Baseball game, and in August – your team's 15 games out of a playoff race. Are you going to go spend your hard-earned money to go watch them? Probably not, because, again, they're out of it. You're emotionally invested.
You're talking to the wrong crew here.
But again, look at attendance in August and September of teams that are not in the hunt, right? Just look. I mean, the facts are there. But for us, nobody cares whether we win or lose. And so fans they come out because they're not emotionally attached to that. And that's what I'm talking about. There is a difference in terms of being emotionally invested and not. And in minor league baseball, they're not as emotionally invested. Yeah, you're going to get you. Look, we have a fan base that's emotionally invested. We have a fan base that's distraught about the fact that we're now affiliated with the Twins because it's going to be different for them. And the players aren't going to have the same storyline. And winning is not going to be the utmost important thing. And I get that. But again, it's such a small amount that's not viable for business if you're relying just on that.
Yeah, I remember I was talking with the GM of the Florence Yalls.
Yeah.
When they got rid of the peanuts, they said, well, no, are you really invested in watching a Florence game? Maybe at a major league level, you're keeping score, you're eating the peanuts. People just will move on to something else. So, I mean, from that aspect, yeah, you're there for fun. You're there for the entertainment. I live in Indianapolis. I saw Andrew McCutchen play. I don't think most people knew who he was initially. But I knew he was a stud, and it was cool to see him
Uncle Larry
move up and become a star in Pittsburgh. But you're right. You're out there for entertainment, and Dave's right as well. There have been some minor league clubs that said, hey, we don't want to be affiliated with you anymore because of the player development. But I don't know how much that hurt the attendance because Indianapolis switched from Milwaukee to Pittsburgh quite a few years ago because of that. But I think Indy has always drawn well.
But again, I would argue the people that are saying we're getting rid of the affiliate because you give us garbage players, again, don't trust their own business model. Again, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. Look, I'll give credit. When we won the title in 2019, and maybe this is me humble bragging, but I had come up with an idea to do a 1-block, 1 minute long parade. Yeah, why? Because nobody cares that we won the championship. And if you do a 3-mile long parade that finishes downtown, nobody's coming to that. But we did a 1-block, 1 minute long parade, which was different. It was quirky, and we packed both sides of the street, right? Because it's different, it's funny, it's cute, and it lasts 1 minute. which is about the attention span that something like that for our team should get. And it was like, again, I hate complimenting myself on an idea, but it was brilliant and it worked well. And then the news came out and covered it live. They covered a parade for 1 minute live. It was amazing. But that's the difference. We get a 1 minute parade. A major league team gets 2 hours that ends at the ballpark in front of, hundreds of thousands of people. Oh, Dave, are you up in Toronto? Did I hear that correctly? Do you live in?
Yeah, I'm Kitchener outside of Toronto. Yeah.
Okay. Could you imagine for a moment what that province would be, that city would be like if the Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup? Could you imagine for a moment?
They set everything on fire, and hey, maybe that's the way to get rid of the virus. Is
They would close the city. I was heard.
They just set everything on fire and
Do me a favor.
burn it out.
Do me a favor. If you win the Stanley Cup, can you burn that reverse retro with it and never, ever, ever, ever wear it again? Gray with blue numbers is so easy to read.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
Oh.
Well, since we're talking about business plans, there's 10 Appalachian League clubs that have to rebrand and are in the midst of it. We've seen original older names come back. We've seen the Sock Puppets in Burlington, Johnson City Doughboys.
Sock puppets.
What kind of advice you would give to those clubs who have to kind of market the old-fashioned way?
Yeah, look, think as far outside the box as you can and take chances. We just left the American Association. The now former Kansas City T-Bones
There you go.
did a brilliant. I think the Sock Puppets are great. I think it's funny. I think whatever. The Kansas City T-Bones did the best rebrand that anyone can ever do. Again, if someone can top it, great. They joined forces with the Negro League Baseball Museum, grabbed an old team name from the Negro Leagues in the Monarchs, and have rebranded themselves as the Kansas City Monarchs. This is absolutely brilliant, unbelievable. And that so many times today, teams rebrand just to rebrand, right? Like you see this all the time. And so much so that now teams are doing it for a game. I think what was the team in Fresno that became the Tacos, and that became a running gag, and it still is running.
Oh, we did a whole episode about that.
And so again, whatever that, but teams are rebranding. It was, man, when was this? 2018, I think. It was either 2017 or 2018. I was so fed up with this, with all these teams rebranding, that I went to our general manager and I said, I've got a great April Fool's press release I want to put out. And I said, I want to put out a press release saying that for all 50 home games, we're going to have a different name. Basically just poking fun at everybody rebranding. And we did, we put together 50 different names. And it was an April Fool's joke, but people loved it. They loved it. So much so that we decided to take what we thought the 5 best names were, let people vote on it, and we changed our names to that for the year. And we did it again the next year. We took one of the names and just renamed it. But we were poking fun at what everybody's doing. But the Monarchs, it's absolutely seriously, part of me wishes I was still in the league so that I could see what they're going to do, because I guess they're bringing like a traveling exhibit with them.
Yes, traveling exhibit with them.
Oh, wow.
Look, on so many levels, and it's one of my great regrets in all the times that we went to Kansas City in my years in the American Association. I think they were a part of the American Association for 7 years or so, give or take. Then I never went to the Negro League Baseball Museum for no other reason that, look.
Oh, you missed out.
Yeah.
I for sure. And that doesn't mean I still can't go, but people think that, when you're on the road, you're doing all this stuff. Like, I'm stuck in my hotel. I'm working. This is not a vacation. So it's not, unless it's outside my hotel or within 5 minutes away for me to go grab food. I don't go do it. I'm not that person. Correct. So, but I really do wish that I had taken that opportunity to go. But I love this. And so for all these other teams, if you're going to be a part of a new league and you're rebranding yourself because you don't want to be associated now with the former affiliated team name that you have, be outside the box, creative, come up with something that's going to be, you can sell merchandise too. I think one of the best selling merchandise was the Montgomery Biscuits when they initially came out. I think they did exceptionally well. who is it? Is it Casper in Wyoming that are the Casper Ghosts? Is that what they are? I think
They used to be.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
But
again,
I'm sorry, the Trash Pandas in Rocket
Yep,
City. I
that
think they
was another
sold,
one.
what, $1 million in merchandise? They've
Yep.
never played a game yet.
Correct.
Call them the Trash Pandas. It's
They
brilliant.
They haven't.
Yeah, but these are the things that when I look at teams and I'm like, all right, you get it. Like, you don't have to be the XYZ major league team name, right? And I've joked with, again, talking about
Tell that to Worcester.
well, what are they? I don't even know what
Red Sox.
Red Sox.
Oh, they're still the Worcester Red
Well,
Sox.
they
Okay.
actually ran, some focus groups and some polls, and the fans wanted Red Sox.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
but
works.
I mean, you're talking about a very historic area, a very historic team name, something that, again, people are passionate about, and you've called yourself the Red Sox for so many years in Pawtucket that when you moved. But I've joked, for this year, that I just want to put out an April Fool's saying that we've renamed ourselves to the St. Paul Twins because everybody thinks that that's what we're doing, that we've changed our name. Because when we announced our manager and our coaching staff, they were all wearing Twins uniforms because they haven't been with us yet. And so these were stock photos that the Twins had took. And people were like, look, see, you guys are already changing. Look, the Twins name. And I'm like, you know what? We should just put out an April Fool's press release saying that we've changed our name to the St. Paul Twins and just see how people react, just to troll people. So I have not gotten that signed off.
We'll be on the lookout
Yeah.
a couple months for that.
Sounds like your biggest complaint about the baseball season is that there aren't enough April Fool's days.
Look, but that's the way your mind has to work. And look, I don't want to work for any other general manager. I've worked for Derek Sheriff for 14 years. This guy allows me a whole lot of autonomy. Heck, I gave away $10,000 of the Saints' money when I came up with the idea of posting on Twitter that if a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, we'd give away 10 grand, and it never happened before. And then it happened. But of course the media attention we got was worth well more than 10 grand for that.
Yeah.
So look, you're always trying to push the envelope. He's a little more on the conservative side when it comes to things like that, but you can push the envelope with him, but that's his job as a GM, right? Is just to try to rein it in a little bit. But I give him credit. We did the Astro, the Grouch talking bobblehead or talking collectible last year, which was based off of the Houston Astros. That was his idea. He came up with it, and it's a semi look-alike of the Astro mascot in a trash can with his eyes kind of peeking out, the antennas coming up at the top, again, the Astros mascot, and then you push a button and it says fastball, curveball, changeup. And so that was a thing. And I tell you what, we had this so perfectly lined up last year that we were going to do the giveaway on the same day that the Astros and Twins were playing across the town at Target Field.
Nice.
Of course, COVID ruined all of this. And,
You should have put the voice, the Siri voice doing the call.
the voice was mine, actually, in the worst Oscar the Grouch impression that you could do. But, again, it's a collectible that people love. When we came out with the idea, we got national attention for it. It was his idea. So look, you always look to push the envelope. And then, look, he gets final say on if it happens or not.
So you had mentioned before, hopefully, we're back to somewhat normalcy. If we do get back to normal, are you planning on reinvigorating the second best podcast going, or?
The short answer to that is I would like to. The longer answer is we'll have to wait and see. Look, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Look, the voice behind the voice was something that I am extremely proud of for people that don't know, and I'm not really sure why most people would know, but it was me sitting down face to face with broadcasters from the 4 major sports and NCAA. And I had come up with this idea because I felt like everybody knows these broadcasters because they bring you your team into your home, but how much do you really know about them in general? And so it was the voice behind the voice to let people talk about their story, how they got to where they are, humorous things that have happened along the way. But I vowed when I first started that podcast that I would be different than any podcast out there. And I guess I took a page out of Mark Maron, for people who don't know, he does the WTF podcast. But I took a page out of his where every interview he did was face to face. And I felt like there was something very personal in doing that with these broadcasters, some of which I looked up to, some of which you always wanted to sit down, some of which I didn't know anything about. And I did 196 episodes that ran over about 4 years. And I felt that what I got from people sitting across from them in person was better than I could ever get them any other way. And I even had some broadcasters that like, I know I'm coming into town. I just don't have the time. Do you want to do it over the phone or do you want to do it over video chat? I turned them down and I was like, no, I'll be doing this for a while. Next time you're in town, we'll do it, whatever. And for the most part, I did. And look, I didn't have anyone chasing these people down. I did all my legwork. I reached out to every single communications director to set these things up. And I'm very, very proud of that podcast. It was a lot of work for the simple fact that I did research on all these guys as if they were a player and I was about to do a broadcast and I had to know this stuff. Because I felt like if I sat across from a broadcaster and said, so tell me how you got started, they'd shut down immediately. I knew their story. I knew how they got to where they got to. I knew every little detail about them. And I led them down a path, but I let them decide what road they wanted to take. And I got more the moment I knew that I had something was my second ever interview that I think turned out to be like the fourth or fifth podcast was with Paul Allen, the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, longtime voice of the Minnesota Vikings. And after he and I got done, at the very end of that podcast, he looks at me and he says, this is the best interview I've ever been a part of. I've never sat down with anyone more prepared than you. And I thought to myself, I've got something here. Like I just got this.
It almost turned into like a shtick because at some point your guest would be like, oh, wow, you've really done your research.
Yeah, for sure. You're exactly right. No, you bring up a great point. It's true. But I could always tell, because most guys didn't know. Most broadcasters did not know. Even though I sent an email to the communications director, nobody read the entire email. So most broadcasters didn't know what this was. They had no idea. And I could always see when the light bulb went on with them, when they realized that they just weren't sitting down with some, schlub that just wanted to ask a few. I could always see when the guard and the wall came down because they were like, wow, this guy did his homework. I'll tell one quick story about this where the tables were reversed on me and I was floored. Doc Emmerich, who was episode 50. But Doc and I were scheduled to sit down the night before the Blackhawks and Wild were playing at the XL Energy Center. But his flight got delayed for weather. So now he was coming in on game day. So he called me up and he said, hey, now I got to come in on game day. Can we do it after the morning skate? Look, you tell me I can do it 5 minutes before you go on the air and all you have for me is 5 minutes and you're Doc Emmerich. I'm telling you yes, okay? So yes, of course. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you to lunch and then we'll do the podcast. Doc Emmerich just invited me to lunch. I'm going to say no.
All right.
So
no, I don't want to.
No, I'm busy, Doc.
Now, mind you, I've done all this research on Doc. I know Doc inside and out. So I walk in, Doc greets me. We're walking into the restaurant. And Doc says, so I see that you do more for the Saints than just play-by-play. And he starts rattling off this information about an article that was written about me like 2 years ago. And I'm like, I'm about to interview one of, if not the greatest NHL announcers in modern day. And this guy's done his research on me. And I was floored. I didn't know what to say. So we sit down for lunch. And I joke to this day, it was the worst first date I've ever had. I know everything about Doc, but I don't want to bring any of it up, right? Because you want the answers to be natural. I don't want to ask him about hockey because that's all he ever talks about. So now I'm in my own head and I'm like, well, what do I talk to Doc Emmerich about? I have no idea. And it was just like, I felt so awkward in that moment because I just didn't know what to talk about. And look, to Doc's everlasting credit, and everything you hear about him is true, at least in my hour and a half, 2 hours I spent with him. He is a genuinely nice guy, made me feel very relaxed, made me feel very comfortable. But I got so, it's the only interview I've actually been nervous for. The first 10 minutes of the interview, I was so nervous because I'm thinking I'm sitting down with perhaps the greatest wordsmith ever. And I'm afraid I'm going to forget the English language while I'm talking to him. And it took me about 10 minutes to finally get over that. So,
that was, I remember that one distinctly. That was a really good one.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll speak for all the boys and say, hey, if you want to bring us up to Minnesota so that you can have us on your podcast, face to face, we're there.
There you go.
Once the border opens.
I've been doing this since 2008. Please interview me.
I'm only 9 hours away by car.
Please interview me.
Yeah, there you go.
You might not want to do a whole lot of research on Dan, though.
Yes.
But that's the other thing, right? Is the other part to this is I do these all in person. When is that time going to become where people are going to be comfortable sitting across from somebody? It was the last interview I did. I think it was.
I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. The last one I did, I think Vegas was in town, and it was like the night before the NHL got shut down. So like here we are. We did the interview. We're done, and you don't even think anything about it, right? You hear about the virus, all this stuff going on. And then everything gets shut down. But now it's going to be so long before anyone's really going to want to spend an hour sitting 6 feet across from you. So,
Sean, if you could see who I have to sit across the table from every day, I've got no worries. Trust me.
Look, I'd be happy to sit across from someone. I have nobody around here.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It looks like Dave's question has led us right down the path to where we're back home, huh? Although it looks like Dave, it looks like I interrupted you again. Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, in all honesty, I did kind of facetiously say, you fire up the second best podcast, but I have listened to a number of episodes. They're great for the garden. My wife's happy because instead of like a little 15-minute job in the garden, now I got to do an hour and a half to get through the whole thing. But what you were talking about, sitting across from someone, that really does come through. You sometimes even hear like the clinking of the dishes and whatnot. And in other media has sort of taken that same sort of thing, right? Like I think there's a wrestling show where, like a bunch of guys just sit around and they eat dinner and they talk about whatever.
Dinner for three.
Whatever.
Is that the one where the guys eat the hot chicken wings and ask questions?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's separate. There's an actual show on the network, WWE Network, called Dinner for Three, where they pick three wrestlers that are associated with each other, either personally or in the ring or company-wise, and they just eat dinner and discuss their careers.
That's a pretty cool idea.
It's a really good show.
It has just a totally different feel, and Sean, I got that feeling with your podcast, and I really did enjoy it. I learned about Joe Bowen and Eric Smith and Ben Wagner and guys who are, like, would I ask some guy in Minnesota about those guys? No, probably not. I'm in Canada, they're around the corner, and I learned a ton about those. So kudos to you, and I do hope you get a chance to fire it up again because I really enjoyed the podcast.
I appreciate.
If not, that's okay because I do have probably 160 episodes in the backlog I catch up on.
No, I appreciate you saying that. It was a labor of love. When I first started it, you have delusions of grandeur. You're like, well, if the broadcaster retweets it and the team retweets it, I'm going to get to like 1 million listeners, in just a couple of months. And of course, that never happens. Because
that's a chuckle from Dan.
That's right. Well, because teams are very adverse to retweeting because if they have to do it for you, they do it for everybody else. And look, I got it.
Wait a second. Are you going a roundabout way of telling us you're not going to retweet our link for this podcast?
I retweeted it from both my account and the Saints account.
I
you guys posted before.
I was flipping out because I had such an issue with people not retweeting.
Yeah.
And Sean was like, bang, bang. I was like,
that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He gets it because he does it.
Yeah, it's I totally understand it. And look, if you do a podcast, you should help other people that do a podcast. But again, I get it if you're the team and you don't want to do it. And so at some point I realized, look, there's no monetary, value in this, which is not why I started it to begin with, but it truly became a labor of love. And I met so many great people in this business that all of them said, hey, if you ever need anything, if you ever need help, and I heard from some of those people, like NBA guys, Major League Baseball guys, NHL guys, reached out to me when the Saints became a AAA affiliate. And they said, congratulations. And I'm like, how do you know about this? How are you paying attention to this? Like, it floored me. Some of the guys that like reached out to me to say congratulations when this happened. My joke has been that all it took for me to become a AAA broadcaster was 14 years and someone else to fork over some money for me to be a AAA broadcaster. So, when I give my TED talk about how to become a AAA broadcaster, I just say, look, wait your turn and have someone fork over, X amount of dollars for you to become a AAA affiliate. That's what happened. So,
Solid business model right there.
Yeah, right. That's the way you do it. That's how you do it.
So you had just mentioned an hour and a half podcast, and we don't want this, although it's been great fun. We don't want to keep you here another couple hours. So I think.
What's the longest one you guys have ever done?
Yeah. Hour 40?
Hour 40?
Do you want like just Stadium Journey or all the podcasts I've ever produced?
Well, this one specifically, right? This is the one you're doing right now.
It's been an hour and 40, a little under 2 hours.
Well, don't forget we did that, the longest finish time or the longest time recording? Because we did have that movie one
that day
where we did the two in one night.
Dave had a great idea to do all the major league ballparks in one 2-part episode, and I think it took us 3 or 4 hours to do it.
But the first part of it we lost, and we had to go back and do it again.
That's brutal.
Yeah. The recording of the podcast, you could go, the stream has been live for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
The interview will be a little over an hour at this point. And when we were traveling,
we had a lot to say.
The podcast would go 90 minutes.
Yeah.
90 minutes, and that people's attention spans these days, not great. We do a podcast once a month on the Wednesdays where the wrestling podcast usually is, which when we started that was 3 hours, right? It's down to 45 minutes, if that. More wrestling on TV, less to talk about. Weird how that happened. Quality over quantity. Another discussion for another time. But those shows would take 6 hours a night.
Wow.
Because we would interview so many wrestlers, which brings me back to the not retweeting another story for another time. The Nerd Herders, the nerd podcast that we do Wednesdays, we're clocking in at 2.5.
Oh, wow.
Last week, I cut them. So I put part 1 out last week as a separate episode, and the second episode goes out this week will be a whole other discussion that went for almost another hour to break it up. But back in the old days, it's a different. The numbers change too.
Yeah,
when you put the sports ones are different because sports podcasts are kind of in that talk radio vein, right?
Yeah.
So you could go about 90 minutes, and a lot of people, we have stuff that's around under an hour and a half that are at 300. 150 between 150 300 views, so it all depends on the crowd too.
That's true. I feel like we should give a cliffhanger and then do a 2 parts at the end, right? Yeah.
Just make an explosion, look off screen, and then cut.
That's right.
Yeah, I could ask you what teams you're going to miss playing. You're going to miss those games in Gary, Milwaukee, Sioux Falls, Winnipeg.
Yeah, there are plenty of places I'll miss. Gary will not be one of them. I promise you that. But no, look, I made a lot of great friends in the American Association, all of which I'll keep in touch with. But that's the other sad part, right? Is you won't be going to these ballparks to see those guys that you've gotten to know so well. But you'll meet new people now.
Yeah,
and
you'll make new friends.
I've said this, before we wrap up here. I've said this that 14 years with the Saints, I had achieved everything that I wanted to achieve. I welcomed in a new ballpark. We've hosted 3 all-star games. I finally got to call a championship moment, which I had never done. I had hit all these different marks. I had done everything. And I started to wonder, well, what else can I accomplish? What else is there? And this has reinvigorated me. but it's also made me very nervous for what I just talked about. Like I didn't earn a AAA job, right? Like I didn't apply for a AAA job and get hired for a AAA job. We happened to become one. And so you start to wonder, well, these AAA broadcasters, when I go into their ballpark, start looking at me like, this guy paid his way to this point, right? Like mommy and daddy spent a bunch of money for him to, it's like the college scandal, someone paid a bunch of money for, me to go to their school and said I was like on the rowing team or something like that, the crew team. Like it's just, and so like there'll be a little bit of nerves for me in having to prove myself again that I deserve this. Like I worked hard to get to this point. I've been a broadcaster for 20 years. Now, maybe this is in my own mind and I'm just creating this, but this has reinvigorated me to have to prove myself all over again. And in reality, if you look at it, and again, this is not the way it works necessarily, but technically I'm one step away from the big leagues. So, if Corey Provis, if Dan Gladden, if Dick Bramer, if Chris Atterbury, if like 3 people from FSN, if, 5 people on the street aren't able to do this, I think they will then finally turn to me and say, hey, these 14 people aren't able to do our game tonight. Can you make the trip across town? Yes,
for the tall righty out of the bullpen.
That's right. Exactly. So
you just sounded like a few 100 people in the royal family there.
Exactly. That's the way it is, right? Like
if 32 people die suddenly.
That's right. If all those people cannot serve, then I'm in line of succession. So there you go.
All right, so, Sean. So we will be rooting for that mass accident.
Exodus. Yeah.
So you can even make the next jump from AAA to the major leagues. But yeah,
and I will still appear. I will still appear on this podcast, even if I reach the major leagues. I will give you guys the time.
All right.
Okay.
I will not be too big for your podcast. I promise you.
Mark that.
Well, I'm going to be too big for our podcast.
Dan, though, I will not retweet it at that point, though. Sorry.
I understand. That's okay.
Send us those names. We're going to start the hate mail campaign.
Still a better ratio than 98% of the rest.
That's right.
So Sean, do you want to let our listeners know where they can follow the Saints or any of your side projects or behind the voice if they want to go back in the archives?
Yeah, so saintsbaseball.com, first of all, if they want to check out the Saints, hoping to have a schedule next week, the week of whatever that is, February 6th, 7th, whatever it happens to be. So hoping to have a schedule sometime that week. Saintsbaseball.com, St. Paul Saints on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Friendster, MySpace,
Friendster. He went Friendster with it.
And then
you don't want
as far as the voice behind the voice, you can again follow me on Twitter, The Voice BTV, and you can find the voice behind the voice on all your favorite platforms for listening to podcasts.
Friendster was before Facebook.
All right. Well, Sean, thanks again for joining us. Always a great time when you join us, and we'll look forward to having you again on maybe after your first AAA season. Then we can recap and compare.
I promise to add one more thing to the wall at that point. I promise that will happen.
I can send you some of my extras.
Yeah, right.
You know what? If we could convince him to paint it blue, we could put anything behind him.
There you go.
How do you feel about NSYNC bobbleheads?
Hey, look, that's my time frame.
Their best song they ever did was "Trash in the Camp," the one they did with
Those
Phil
are actually
Collins.
my daughters, and she left. She moved out, and bobblehead stayed. So you know what? They're part of the collection now.
You got Alf. All right,
so ladies and gentlemen, Sean Aronson. Yeah, you got everything if you look hard enough, right?
That's right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, that was Sean Aronson, the Director of Broadcasting and Media Relations for the new AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins, St. Paul Saints, man. Can't wait to see how everything works out up in the Twin Cities, and can't wait to talk to Sean again, one of my favorite guests we have on the show. And I'm not just saying that because he promised to listen to the end of the show. So I am. All right, so, if I'm being disingenuous, so be it. But I'm not. So this is the part of the show where we talk about our visits over the past 2 weeks. And once again, Mark, you've got somewhere you can talk about.
Yes, I do. And it's probably one of the smallest towns I've ever visited in any of my travels. Eminence, Indiana, probably has about 200 people living there. Don't quote me on that, but it is very small. if you blink, you're going to miss the town, because as soon as you come into the town, it welcomes you. There's the high school and gym, and then boom, you're out of town. I went to one of the last few small high school gyms in the state of Indiana, the Tank, home of the Eminence Eels. And it was last Saturday. They were expecting a snowstorm. It wasn't a snowstorm, but it did snow. So they pushed the game back to 2:30. I missed the first half hour. I missed their laser light show introduction. I heard it's amazing. But this is one of those classic high school gyms that takes you back to the 1950s and 60s, when that's what the town did on a Friday, Saturday night. They pack the gym and warm themselves up with some basketball action. And I got to tell you something, these fans were so into the game. They were excited. All the focus was on the court. There was a reduced amount of people, but the gym only seats about 1,400, so it didn't really feel like there was very few people. The atmosphere and the noise created a lot of the excitement and ambiance. So wonderful small little gym. I have a video coming out as well as a review. Working on that right now as we speak. So that was my trip, and small town basketball is alive and well here in Indiana.
Fantastic. I wish I could go to a high school game right now. But you know what? I'm stuck with my Division III basketball. And just a real quick anecdote. The way the schedule is set up for me at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, we're playing games on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And it's only a 10-game season for the men and the women. But today was a crazy day because the assistant athletic director, I think I've got 5 emails from him today regarding schedule changes because teams are flaring up with COVID and are having to cancel their activities. So the remaining teams are trying to juggle the schedule, and we're only 2 weeks into our schedule, and we've already had 2 games, 2 out of the 4 home games. Well, both the home games have been played. The men have already had 2 road games canceled. The women have already had a home and a road game canceled.
Awesome.
So
everything's fine.
So the juggling that is going on to get this little season done is just incredible. And the amount of hoops that we're jumping through, I don't understand how there's so many flare-ups. Because I think it's out of an abundance of caution, to be honest with you. We have to be tested. I don't know if I shared this last week, but we have to be tested 48 hours before every game.
Yep.
So between my job and this job, I'm getting tested like every other day. It's hard to remember which place to show up at.
Question.
So
Is it the hardcore swab or just the edge of the nose swab?
Luckily, it's not. When you remember when we first started and they would stab the back of your brain with the long Q-tip?
Yeah,
that's not the test anymore. The test now is short Q-tip that just goes around the inside of your nostril.
Yeah,
you can do that every day. It tickles, but it's not anything like the old one.
Yeah, cool.
I think if one person shows up positive, and the players are getting tested 3 times a week, so I think if any one person tests positive, everything shuts down. So I think that's why we're having all these postponements. But yeah, I really feel for the athletic departments who are really trying to make this abbreviated season happen. It's not easy, and our season is scheduled to end at the beginning of March. Who knows if we'll make it there? But it's just been amazing to watch the machinations of all of this. So I've got a game scheduled for tomorrow. I've got a game scheduled tomorrow, and it's against a different opponent. So all my homework went out the window.
You know, I've been thinking about last couple of days with the vaccines accelerating in a lot of places. Not enough, but it's accelerating. The euphoric feeling we're going to have when we're at a game and go, oh, man, remember we couldn't do this?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was that.
Go to a restaurant and sit down.
I'm okay with that, though. Like that,
See, I've done that once since this whole thing started, and I was really uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you.
I see the whole thing about.
We're bitching, and Dave hasn't left his house in a year.
Yeah, I haven't really. I've gone to Jersey. I've looked for houses, but I haven't, done. Hey, look at me. But anyway, real quick, I just, it'll be worth it, folks. Stop going out and getting your family members sick and wear a mask, wash your hands, and we're almost there. We're almost there. I can't monosyllabically explain. We're almost there.
I sure hope so.
So you guys might almost be there, but every report we get up here is that, oh yeah, that shipment of vaccines going to Toronto is not happening, and that shipment is half of what it's supposed to be. So that's where
we're getting a lot of that, but it's still miles away where we were about March 17th last year.
Yeah, hopefully we're closer to the end than the beginning.
I mean, we are. We're always closer to the end than we are the beginning.
Well, not always. Well, anyway, that's where we'll wrap it up tonight on that cheery note. Dan, where can our listeners follow you?
Dan Law. On all social media platforms except Facebook until March 2nd. Dan Law 83.
Bad, Dan.
It wasn't bad.
I know you showed me what it was. Like, huh? Okay.
Wasn't that stupid?
Algorithms.
Can you at least this time go, okay, that was stupid. Thank you.
Mark, where can our listeners follow you online?
You can follow me online on Twitter or Instagram, Ballpark Hunter. Also on YouTube. Like, subscribe, watch my videos. Just type in Ballpark Hunter, and you'll be pleasantly entertained each Monday and Thursdays.
And another thing. I'm kidding.
I would hate to be unpleasantly entertained.
Well,
is that possible?
I don't know. I don't.
Yes,
think so.
I have a story for you, but I'll tell it another time.
Dave has to go to work tomorrow. Hey, where can our listeners follow you?
On Twitter at Profan9. Literary journey is continuing because I can't go anywhere. Finished Steve Dangle's book, which was fascinating. It was
Steve Dangle wrote a book.
Oh yeah, it's really quite awesome. About how his whole life of being on the internet and YouTubing and whatnot, and how that's kind of brought him into the mainstream hockey world. Yeah, fascinating.
You'd love him, Paul. He loves the Bruins.
No, he does not. I know who Steve Dangle is.
Also, because Black History Month, went through the latest memoir of Willie O'Ree. That was really interesting. Yeah, this part I really can't get my head around. A guy playing left wing with no right eye.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
He's not dead because people killed him on the blind side. It's unbelievable. But funny thing, he talked about how he extended his career by when he went and played on the West Coast. He extended his career by switching from left wing to right wing.
Listen, I'll come play for you, but I gotta switch sides.
But anyway, right now, because I've been listening to Dan be all upset about 1975 and the Flyers, so we're into 1967, where the Toronto Maple Leafs had, get ready for the inside joke, their head coach, general manager was George Punchy Imlach. So you can follow that at Profan9.
You had 11 cups. We had 2. I don't care about 1967.
Hey, one of us was actually alive the last time those Blue Jays.
Yeah, I was born in 74, so.
I don't care.
I think you were the one that said it doesn't count if you weren't born yet.
No, I was saying it's bullshit if you say that. From the fan base that keeps throwing Joe Carter in my face, I don't care about 1960 goddamn 7.
It's not the fan base that throws it in your face, it's me.
All of you, every single one of you.
I could care less. All right. You can follow my stadium journeys on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, OnlyFans at PuckmanRI.
Stuck that one in there, much like OnlyFans.
I get it. Who would want to subscribe to my OnlyFans?
Oh, Paul, let me tell you about. Never mind.
No, don't tell me. I'd rather be ignorant. Thank you.
There's an audience.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, there's somebody out there for everybody. All right, so back on track. Don't forget to check out our website, Stadium.
John had Yoko.
Follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Stadium Journey. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook. Do all that good stuff. You can find the Stadium Journey podcast at VOCNation.com or just search on your smartphone, VOC Nation Radio Network. We simulcast live, as some of you might know because you're already there, every other Tuesday night at 8 Eastern at twitch.tv/Dan-Law83. We will return in 2 weeks. That puts us at February 16th, when we will be joined once again by Kelly Levy and the rest of the gang from Obey the Puck.
So Kelly Levy.
Yeah, exactly. Our annual hockey crossover episode. Until then, since we were talking about the Twin Cities, remember, we're here to celebrate this thing called life.